Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's your brother here again, Ali Haidar, and welcome back to In Conversation with Ali Haidar. Today, I am so excited to introduce to you our guest. Our guest is a person who I've had the privilege of knowing for about 4 years, I want to say. He is potentially one of the most committed and disciplined people I've personally ever met. That's my perception of him. I mean, I don't know what he's like outside, but alhamdulillah, the brother that I know, mashallah, is just on point with everything that I've seen him do and engage in. Guys, I'm so excited to introduce to you brother Rubes. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, brother.
Hey.
Thank you.
No problem. I hope that does it justice, bro.
It surprised me a bit. Thank you.
Absolutely. And look, first of all, man, thank you for sitting with me. This is very different to how we usually sit, right? Because we spend a lot of time together, right? So
yeah. We're usually in a coffee shop.
We are indeed.
Yeah,
or in a gym now.
This is close.
Yeah.
Or a gym.
Or the gym nowadays. So this is close enough, but I'm just, excited. So thank you so much for joining us. And the reason why I asked you here today, Rubes, is because I've kind of been somewhat along with your journey from a distance, kind of got into it a little bit as well. You've asked me a few questions as you kind of come back to Islam, and I'd love to kind of we've never gone into our feelings towards it, if that makes sense. And I think it would be nice to actually get your intake on absolutely everything. So inshallah, that's the plan with it. Bro, I'm going to start off with letting the audience know about one of the things that I've seen you do where you're committed to and you're very disciplined, as I introduced you, which was around the halakas that you've done at the evenings, that you brought some of us brothers together. I've noticed brothers bring their kids in, but you've been pretty on point with that. Alhamdulillah. Tell us a bit more about why you chose to do that.
I think it was something that was an initiative between me and another brother. And it was kind of like we just wanted to gather people together in almost an Islamic environment, being a mosque, but at the same time, not have any pressure on it. So we wanted to be more of a social event. You know, teas and coffees, you might meet some brothers that you probably see in the mosque that you never get to talk to.
Yeah.
Or some brothers from other mosques that you just don't get to interact with. And I think it's just a nice time that people can get together and finally just break the ice a bit between each other.
Yeah. And it's been so successful, from my opinion. The reason why is because I've managed to meet a lot of the brothers who are actually taking part in this series as well through your evening.
Right, yeah.
So mashallah, may Allah keep that, through for you for as long as it goes, I mean.
Thank you.
Bro, we've just talked about a little bit about what you're doing at the moment, but I kind of want to take it all the way back. How long has it been since you taken your Shahada?
So actually, I would probably say I'd been a Muslim 2 years.
Okay.
I wouldn't say I took my Shahada straight away.
Yeah.
It was actually something that came probably a few months after.
Yeah.
But back in January 2023, I kind of made the intention that I was going to start praying 5 times a day. There's a bit of a backstory.
Tell us, bro.
Towards getting to that point.
Sure.
But from January 2023, I kind of just said, right, this is the point where either go this way or that way.
Wow.
And I started praying 5 times a day. So what got me to that point, actually, I grew up as a Christian.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I was always practicing, but I understood the fundamentals. From a young age as a kid, like the idea of a higher power, God, was kind of instilled in me.
Yeah.
And I would go to church with my mother, and she would read me, Bible stories at the time. And most of these stories you realize are also in the Quran as well.
Yeah.
So there was already a foundation there. So growing up, I always kind of struggled with the idea of there being God the Father and Jesus the Son, but people seeing Jesus as God as well. So that's something that I struggled with. I couldn't get my head around that.
Yeah.
Later on in life, I kind of felt myself at a point where I lacked purpose, and I was really looking for purpose in life. I think it's quite common that people look for purpose in their life, and when you're on that path, it can lead you down many different ways, good and bad. I think for me, like, my sole purpose was, I want to be successful in life. I want to do well in my job. I want a good career. That's great. Like, that's going to bring you a good life here in this world, at least.
Yeah.
If you have that motivation and those intentions. However, your whole life can't depend on just being a great employee, a good worker.
Wow.
They don't fulfill you. They might fulfill monetary values, but it's very easy to distract yourself. I know people older as well. They've just distracted themselves their whole life through work.
Yeah.
Like, work's got their grip on their life, and if it's not work, it's something else.
Yeah.
I think what I'm trying to say is this world is distracting.
Yeah. And you found in that point, leading up to it, that when you were trying to find the purpose to your life, that this was the distraction that was taking over the purpose of your life.
Sure.
Correct?
Sure. I think, so I was in uni. This is going back to, went to uni 2013. I graduated in about 2016.
Yeah.
That last year, I'd worked so hard through uni that I almost felt really empty at the point of graduation, because I was like, what's next?
Yeah.
I didn't have a job at that point.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's got to be more to life than just going to work, chasing this thing or chasing that thing.
Yeah.
And the idea of God, there being a higher power, never left me, like, never went away from my mind. So I started just going back to church.
Yeah.
And initially, it was quite nice. I think from a nostalgic point of view, where I'd gone as a child. But something still wasn't quite right and didn't feel settled with me. I was starting to read a lot more about the Bible and try and learn as much as I could at that point.
Yeah.
But then I had a bit of a change in my life where I moved to Coventry to start a new job.
Yeah.
And, excuse me, moving to Coventry was quite eye-opening, because I didn't know anyone there at all. So it was like starting fresh again.
Yeah. So you've left uni.
Yeah.
You've now started your job and you've moved to Coventry for this, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I was still struggling with that purpose, because in my mind at that point, I was like, I'm going to get into this new job. This is going to fulfill me.
Yeah.
It didn't.
Wow.
Because it's a job.
And was it like a dream job for you?
It was,
as well?
yeah.
Yeah.
It was, absolutely. It was what I'd wanted to do.
Wow.
When I got into my teens, I was like, I want to go down this route.
You studied towards that route, I'm guessing, as well, right?
Okay. Yeah, I still, not to disregard that job, because it was excellent.
Yeah.
Like, I got to see things that other people don't get to see, work on cool things.
Yeah.
It was great, and I am very grateful that I got to go down that path too. Alhamdulillah. But I started going to a church there, because naturally I just didn't know anyone at that point. I just kind of needed to get to know people and socialize.
Yeah.
So I was going back to church again. I was getting into it in terms of reading up about things, trying to understand things more. But the more I tried to understand things, I didn't really always get the answers that I was looking for. Even I would speak to people in the church, even looking online for answers. So it was a bit disheartening.
Yeah.
And I was enjoying the social aspect more, but the thing is, when there's always people there for good times, isn't there?
Yeah.
when there's actually like an underlying purpose to something. It just lacked that to me.
Okay.
I couldn't get my head around the Trinity. That's probably a whole nother conversation in
But
itself.
that's a big part of, I'm guessing.
Of Christianity, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they all stem from the same
Sure.
origin. They're all Abrahamic religions:
course.
Judaism, Christianity, Islam.
Yeah.
So, it's probably at 2018 at this point
Yeah.
that I was just kind of done with it at that point. I was like, I can't put more time and effort into this where I don't feel right. So the next...
Was that the practicing? Sorry, I'm cutting you in, but I'd like to come back to, was it the practicing of it that you were struggling with by that time?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the kind of the theory of it.
Okay.
So the idea of God, of Jesus being God.
God, yeah. Rather than and the Son of God, I guess, as well.
Yeah. This is something that led me to Islam, because in Christianity, there aren't set prayers. You kind of pray, I don't know, as and when. And I was always told to like pray in the name of Jesus, which always confused me as a child. Is like, am I praying to Jesus? Am I praying to God?
Yeah.
Anyway, at this point.
So we're in 2018, you said?
2018, yes.
Yeah.
I'd got involved then in just kind of, I wasn't involved in that anymore. I wasn't going to church. I couldn't get my head around it, and I didn't feel it was right going there.
Yeah.
As well, in churches, they like to sing songs of praise, and it's something I never felt comfortable with.
Wow, okay.
I appreciate that everyone kind of sees God and worships God in their own way. And at the time, I was like, okay, so maybe that works for these people. But I just didn't feel right with me.
Yeah.
At that point, though, I was enjoying my job, but I was in my early 20s. So I just wanted to, at the time, I was like, I just want to enjoy my life.
Yeah.
Which sounds fine, but if you can't enjoy your life if you lack purpose, you don't know where your
you're trying to enjoy.
No, you don't. Exactly.
Yeah.
You don't know where your end goal is.
Sure, man, of course.
So I'd say I'd lived a few years then like that quite easily. And then obviously COVID hit. I'd moved back to Wales.
Yeah.
I started living in Newport and working a different job.
Yeah. And that has a big reasoning of you finding your purpose to life, right? When you started this new job. Am I right in assuming that?
Sort of. Okay. I think the last couple of years, I feel like I've come together as like a person, and I've developed.
Allahumma barak, yeah.
And I feel like perhaps towards the end of the 30s, speaking personally, like I knew myself better. Sorry, end of your 20s.
Yeah.
And I knew myself a lot better.
Yeah.
And so someone who I work with is a Muslim. I've known them for a long time.
Yeah.
So we'd always naturally talk about religion, not always go into depth. But the idea of somebody converting or reverting to Islam, the first time I'd heard about that was actually back in the school days.
Yeah.
So me and friends back then, we used to love listening to like Tupac, like 90s hip hop.
Yeah.
And there was a rapper, his name's Napoleon.
Brother Rashid knows a lot about.
Yeah?
Napoleon.
Okay, you know Napoleon. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. From the Outlaws. He was the first person I'd learned, because there was always conspiracies about Tupac's murder and all these things. And as a teenager, you just absorb that. You love going online and reading and listening about these stories.
Yeah.
So, but then I stumbled upon Napoleon, and it's like, this guy's whole life changed, turned around. He became a Muslim. So that was the first time I'd heard about somebody becoming a Muslim.
Yeah.
Because at that point, that would have been about 2010. So we'd lived through a post 9/11 world at that point, where Muslims were seen as an enemy.
Of course.
In main media. And, you know, I believed that growing up. It's a shame. I feel, you know, shameful about that now. Is like, looking back, it's really horrible. But at that point, that was when it opened my eyes to like, oh, okay, so maybe this isn't what the media portrays it to be.
Yeah.
So that was the first time I heard about somebody converting or becoming a Muslim.
Yeah.
So that was very interesting.
Yeah.
And it always stuck at the back of my mind.
Yeah. Forward it all the way to this brother who you're working with.
Yes. It was Ramadan 2000. Well, he's always been doing Ramadan.
Yeah.
But I never really delved into, you know, the questions of it so much. Like, well, why do they do this?
Why are you fasting? Why are you waiting until the sun goes down to eat?
Why are you starving yourself?
Why are you starving yourself?
Why are you starving yourself?
Sure.
And I don't know, naturally myself, like I'm drawn to challenges. And I was like, this Ramadan, it sounds interesting. I want to try it sometime.
Yeah.
But back in 2022, I was still a bit distracted by going out, doing other stuff. And I didn't get around to even trying to fast. Because you hear about the benefits of fasting.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah. And you're talking about like health benefits.
The health benefits of fasting, not the spiritual. Because I think fasting's great for your body.
Yeah.
But if you're just fasting non-spiritually, it's very different, I think. It's always great when you break your fast, though, because like it's just that instant hit of...
The treat at that moment, yeah.
That's
absolutely.
It. But I think without the spiritual side, you don't have the gratitude of, wow, you know, we've just done this fast. I broke fast. I feel amazing now. It increases your gratitude for people who have less as well. So going back then to Ramadan that year, I was like, I'm gonna look into this Islam. I'm gonna see what it's all about.
Yeah.
And I would say as well, it wasn't just Islam I would look into, because I think that's a biased way to look at anything. You got to look across the spectrum.
Yeah. There
are many historic ancient religions that don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
So worldwide, the predominantly is Judaism, Islam, Christianity. So I already had the Christian background.
Yeah.
But the point I kind of started at was the idea of, Jesus being God.
Yeah.
And then I remembered that in Islam that, they acknowledge Jesus, but they don't believe Jesus is God. So I kind of started there.
Yeah.
So you know Zach and Ike.
Yeah.
I got a little book, like questions and answers to Islam.
He's very good at answering
questions. He is very good.
Yeah.
I would say, though, in hindsight and what I know now, that perhaps his style of answering questions appeals to more of like a South Asian audience.
I understand what you mean.
But that's kind of the beauty of it. Whereas you might have an American Muslim who's giving dawah. He's got to appeal to his audience. Like the culture where they are. Every culture is different. It's not going to just take on another one and completely understand things in a different light.
Okay.
So I read through the Zach and Ike book, and it did answer a lot of questions, and it felt like a huge weight off my shoulder, like reading about why Muslims do this, why they fast, violence in Islam, terrorism, these kind of things. I was like, I'm reading about it and I'm seeing it from a different perspective, and it's making sense. Yeah, logically. Yeah. So at that point, I got to say, alhamdulillah for YouTube and having resources that you can just, it's in my pocket. I can get an answer to a hadith or anything I want just in my pocket. Yeah.
So you've done all of this research now with Judaism.
Yes.
You already have the Christian background.
Yeah.
You're starting to learn about Islam. You've started off at the point of where Isa alayhi salam is a part of the religion. You always had that in your head. And you come through to that. Now it's coming to the time where you've asked all these questions about Ramadan. Where are you at this point now?
At this point, I thought, I'm going to read a Quran. So I'd ordered a Quran that I was recommended by someone.
Yeah.
It wasn't the easiest book to read at first because of the style of the English. It's almost like old English.
Sure.
But I was reading it along with like an iPad next to me.
Yeah.
Going through different ayats, like
Wow.
trying to understand like what do they mean here, because it's not always worded so clearly. But that's because it comes from
context, right?
That's
so
right.
Revealed.
Learning the context. And so that was 2022, and I still did my, I want to say and an ahhing, but it was nice because it just felt like a weight off my shoulders. Like, oh, here is the purpose of life.
Yeah.
It isn't about accumulating wealth or these sort of worldly desires.
Mm-hmm.
So we come to the end of 2022. And it's like I just said before, that I still had my reluctance, like a reluctance towards certain things.
Your reservation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, but I can't do this anymore. Can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
But like at the end of 22, I was like, well, you either keep living this way or you take this path, the path of Islam, path to God.
Yeah.
And you take a leap of faith.
Yeah.
Because you're never going to have all the answers 100%. No matter what age you get to, you can maybe get quite close to some of the answers you want. But there is an aspect of faith that I struggled with Christianity, to the aspect of taking faith on in that religion.
Yeah.
Purely because it didn't sit right with me about Jesus being God. So I took this decision now 2 years ago, Jan 2023. I was like, I'm gonna start praying 5 times a day.
Yeah.
It was quite hard at first.
Do you know what the mad thing is as well, though? When you talk about you praying 5 times a day, this was a crazy time for me, to be honest, because I kind of started coming around you around that time, and I remember we had conversations, right? But I was always very reluctant to ask you, have you taken the Shahada? I didn't want to ask you. I mean, I kind of, because you were coming to the masjid at the same time as me.
Yeah.
Even Ramadan.
Do you know what? I didn't really know what the Shahada was when I said, I'm going to start praying 5 times a day.
That's the madness.
Even though you will say it.
Exactly. And I think, one of the things for me at that time is that I realized, and today I'm looking back at it, maybe, I don't want to say insensitive, but how uneducated my approach was towards you at that time. It was just that I just expected that you knew things.
Okay.
And so I was just asking you these questions. Right. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? But it's crazy because I think the reason why I was in that mindset with you was because I'm looking at you, bro, and you're praying Salah. Obviously, I don't know what you're saying and what your mindset is, but I'm looking at your form, bro, when you're doing your Sunnah Salah, and you're just on point, to a point where I'm just like, look at the way because look, Salah is one of those things, right, where you're going in front of the boss of all bosses. You're going with your correct stance, the correct form. And as you know, I'm saying to you, I have seen so much discipline in the way that you do things. Even your Salah, like your posture in your Salah was a specific way. I'm like, yo, he's so far forward. This is why I'm asking.
See, that's so funny because I don't even, I didn't realize or anything.
Yeah.
It was just, but
And I guess this is the crazy part of that Ramadan specifically, where I spent with you.
Yes, we spent a lot of time.
We spent a lot of
my first Ramadan.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time there, I guess. And for me, it was, I say confusion. I was just full of hope. I was like, I just can't wait for him to say to me, he's done.
I remember you saying to me, like, I think it was after one of the Taraweehs.
Yeah.
You were like, is this it now? Are you a Muslim? Are you done? Are you on this path? And I was like, yep.
Yeah.
I'm here.
Yeah. I remember you saying that, but even then I was like, well, I don't know if that's do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But even, subhanAllah, like, look at the difference is what I'm saying. But all of this happens now. You've now found a long path towards your purpose in life. You turned it around and you finally come to this path where you started experimenting this religion before you've actually accepted it. And
That's a good way to put it. Because that was kind of how I felt for maybe up until Ramadan.
Yeah, it was an experiment, right? For you, it was something you were checking out.
I would say I was kind of fortunate in that I stopped drinking for like quite a long time ago.
Yeah,
So certain things were really not a problem in terms of, I had to change so much. So I was quite fortunate. I almost think, looking back, I was a Muslim for like a way longer time. I just didn't realize it until about 2023.
yeah.
The praying though was like,
I think the prayer was the icing on the cake for you that maybe took you to that edge.
do you know what? It was actually learning that Muslims pray 5 times a day and the structure of the prayer. Like it brings structure to your whole day. That was kind of what made me go, okay, this must be something from God.
Give me more about that. So you said it brings structure to your day. Like, this is one thing that, okay, obviously, I've spoken to you before the show, before our sit down podcast for this. I've spoken to you about the reason why we're sat here is, first of all, to find out about your way back to Islam, but majority of the audience members today who are watching from home, sat down, and at this time that is being released, are probably in a position where, they're trying to strengthen their deen.
Yeah, okay.
Trying to find a small thing to spark up their iman and their closeness to God. And you've spoken about the structure of Salah that made your day. Tell us more about that. How could that relate to them?
Yeah, I think, I suppose it starts at Fajr time.
Yeah.
Getting out of bed to, nobody wants to get out of bed and 4 o'clock in the morning in the summertime or 3 o'clock to go and wash up and, they just want to be back to bed. They want to lay in, whatever.
Yeah.
That kind of structure, it starts your day off, I felt, right, because you're in front of God. That's the first thing you do. Yeah, you might go back to sleep, but then you're up, you're back into work. Then in the middle of the day, it's time to go back to God again.
Yeah.
And once again, ask a prayer. And when the sun's on its way down, this is the time people really want to be heading home.
Yeah.
Your remembrance of God again.
Yeah.
And then obviously Isha prayer is your final prayer. So
you're ending your day with it.
You're ending your day with it. Yeah. It's a little bit trickier in the winter time because all those prayers are like crammed. Consolidated. They are a bit crammed.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was the thing that made me like, okay, there's actual structure to this. Like, this is a logical religion.
Because at no point can you forget God through your day then.
That's right.
It's just a constant remembrance, I guess. Yeah.
I think rushing your prayer, like we all rush our prayers sometimes, and like that's something I definitely need to improve, because we're always thinking about, we might be going to a prayer.
Yeah.
Like it's all a prayer. I'm like, oh, I got this thing to do after this. But it's like, we can't do that, the thing we need to do after, without God. So we're coming before him.
This is so interesting to know now, yeah? When you pray your Salah, do you pray in English now, or do you pray in Arabic? Because you're still very
I pray in Arabic. But for probably the first year, half of that year was all in English, even through that Tarawih. But that was I don't know about, say, the rulings on praying in Arabic,
of course,
or your own language, but I just felt at the time that was the best that I could do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you say that's important for Salah? Because the reason why I'm asking this question now, right? So,
you mean to know what
to know what you're saying?
Yeah, absolutely. Because why sort of say it otherwise?
Otherwise, right?
I mean, there's two ways of looking at that, because you could say, well, this has come from God. We put our trust in God. We know this is right.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. But to know what you're saying as well, it just broadens your perspective of everything.
Yeah. So, what I would love from you, Brother Rubes, if possible, is directly speak to those brothers and sisters who are coming in to Islam potentially now, if possible. And
Yeah.
bro, what is the message that you want to give them? They're in a position where potentially they're either struggling to make that final call, or it's like, I don't know what to do, how to get closer to my iman. What is your advice, bro?
Well, big question.
Yeah.
Think why you're doing it. Maybe that's the simplest way I could probably say is think why you're doing it. It's the same. Why do you do anything? Why do you get out of bed every day? Why do you go to work? Think why you're doing it. Think about the purpose of it. Think where you're going to be perhaps in 5 or 10 years' time if you don't.
Yeah.
Or less than that.
Yeah.
Not to be on a downer or morbid, but the thing that comes to all of us is death.
Yeah.
And this was also something that led me to Islam, because I feel like as Muslims, we think about death quite a lot.
All the time, bro.
When you read the Quran, it's
all the time.
We're talking about judgment.
It's our return.
It's our return, exactly. Exactly. Knowing that everything here belongs to God. Even the clothes we got on us, the money in our bank accounts, the money in our wallet, it all belongs to God.
Yeah.
So I would say, think why you're doing something.
Yeah.
And maybe the consequences of not doing it.
Yeah.
And what that could lead to in the future.
SubhanAllah. You do a lot, as we mentioned at the beginning. You do a lot in terms of bringing community together, your brothers.
Try to get involved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any big plans for 2025? Anything
any big plans?
Yeah. Any projects that you're working on for this year?
I think at the moment we're just going to see how sort of Friday Halakha goes. Last year actually we did an open day in the mosque.
Okay.
That we pretty much invited loads of non-Muslim friends.
Yeah.
To. It was a success. It was a success, for sure.
It definitely was.
I think because those people had never been to a mosque before, and I know what it's like as someone who's never been to a mosque before going to a mosque.
Yeah.
It was probably a bit of a crazy experience for them. There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
You know, everybody enjoyed the food.
Yeah, that was definitely a defining factor.
Yeah.
Definitely reeled people in, bro.
And it was great having you guys there as well.
Yeah.
Because you guys are very sociable people. You're spark people, like to get talking and And also, these people, we didn't think, we're going to get them in and, they're just going to convert like that. These things take time, but at the very least, doing these things like open days, it just broadens the minds that, they're just like you or me.
Yeah.
These brothers, these sisters, they're just like you or me.
So you're potentially thinking another open day this year? Is that what you're looking for?
Potentially. It's been nice trying to get involved in the community. I think, like, when I reverted, and I said about throwing myself in the deep end, with the prayers, I was trying to, I think when you revert, you take on the responsibility. You can't just sit back and the religion isn't just for you.
Yeah.
You can't just have this arrogance. So you have some kind of debt to the community around you.
Yeah.
I would say as well to people who perhaps are struggling, that could be a good way for you to perhaps get over or find some help with your struggle, is just getting involved in the community, because you'll meet people.
Yeah.
And just doing things that aren't necessarily for yourself.
Yeah.
For other people as well.
Is that your motivation then? That debt to the community, debt in general, debt to Allah? As you said, we return to Allah. As you said, death is so important. We're returning. Is it the debt?
It definitely keeps me thinking, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so easy in this world to get so caught up in yourself, and I still do, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's like looking beyond yourself.
Yeah.
Getting out of your sort of comfort zone and your own perspective.
Yeah.
And seeing things from a different perspective. Meeting other brothers and sisters is great, because you're going to hear all sorts of stories. I hope that would inspire people.
Inshallah. Bro, thank you, first of all, for sitting with me. I know this is...
Thanks for having me.
No, bro, 100%. And do you know what? Inshallah, we can do it again. I think there's more levels that we can definitely uncover, to be honest with you. With you, for me, it's like I'll start a conversation and I could have a couple more hours of loads of other stuff to talk
I
about.
always find that with you as well,
Yeah,
bro.
bro, there's just layers in it.
There is layers.
So inshallah, maybe we can do this again. Inshallah, Allah knows best. But thank you for joining us, bro. Thank you for giving us what you've given us as well. And I make dua that Allah increases your efforts with the community, and He rewards you for the efforts that you are putting in. I make dua that your khushu is increased in your salah, as you described it to be quite a challenge for you. And I make dua that we continue to have this bond through Islam and through our friendship, inshallah. Ameen. Brother Rubes, pleasure, bro.
Thank you so much, man. You know, one of my favorite like memories of the year I reverted was us just in Ramadan, like seeing each other like pretty much every night at Tarawih.
Yeah, man.
It's just that coming together of everyone. Inshallah,
we're gonna do the same again this year.
Inshallah.
Inshallah. Jazakallah.